Welcome to Shredder Fanfic. Like, subscribe, and hype video. Join members to gain early access to new videos. The main character, after dying in his previous life, he wakes up inside of Hazbin Hotel as Lucifer Morningstar from DC. How is he gonna change Hazbin Hotel?
Hazbin Hotel, reborn as Lucifer Morningstar. Chapter 1. The Devil Out of Place. The sound of impact came first. Metal, rubber, and bone, all folding together into a single, hollow crack. For one flicker of a second, I saw the world twist sideways. Headlights, wet asphalt, the blare of a horn, and then nothing. Then light. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying face up on hot stone. My lungs burned, but not from pain, from the air itself. It tasted thick, like smoke and iron. The sky above was red, the color of molten glass, and a slow wind dragged ash through the empty street around me. I sat up slowly, brushing grit from my white suit. My fingers stopped when I noticed the texture, soft silk, perfectly pressed, clean as if cut straight from heaven's tailor. I blinked, then glanced toward a cracked shop window beside me. What I saw staring back wasn't me. Golden eyes, blonde hair, sharp cheekbones, a face far too symmetrical to belong to a human. "Bloody hell," I whispered, and the voice that came out wasn't mine either. It was smooth, rich, British, unmistakable. I knew it instantly. Lucifer Morningstar. I stood, my reflection moving with the same arrogant poise I'd seen on television, in comics, in art. Somehow, impossibly, I'd become him. And the street around me, it was earth, not even close. Demons roamed freely. Not subtle ones either, hulking, cartoonish, grotesque. Some fought openly, claws slashing, teeth breaking through bone. The architecture was chaotic, like a city that never decided what it wanted to be, half Las Vegas, half Inferno. I turned slowly in place, taking it in. Hell, that much was obvious. But not the one I remembered from DC law. No order, no thrones, no Morningstar manor. Just carnage. Then I saw it. A neon sign flickering through the smoke. Hazbin Hotel. My jaw tightened. You've got to be kidding me. I'd watched Hazbin Hotel. I knew every beat of its story. The extermination hadn't happened yet, so this was before Adam's attack, meaning Charlie's little project was still breathing barely. I started walking. Demons stopped to stare as I passed. I wasn't built like them, too refined, too bright. Some looked confused, others glared. One decided to be bold, charging at me with a rusty cleaver. I sighed, really. When he was close enough, I raised one hand lazily. Power hummed from my fingers, familiar, alive. His weapon froze in midair, so did he. The air bent faintly around my will, and his eyes went wide before he collapsed to the pavement, gasping. I kept walking, brushing dust from my sleeve. The hotel doors loomed ahead. Old, red, carved with hearts and horns. I pushed them open. Inside was quieter, warmer. The lobby was surprisingly clean. A chandelier flickered overhead. At the bar, a cat demon with tattered wings, Husk, was half asleep over a bottle. Angel Dust sprawled on a couch, cigarette dangling, chatting lazily with Nifty, who was wiping down tables with manic enthusiasm. And at the counter stood Charlie, the princess of hell herself, tall, blonde, pink-eyed, smiling with the kind of determination that didn't belong in this world. When I stepped in, all of them looked up. Charlie's smile faltered. "Oh, hi there." She blinked quickly, looking me over. "Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel. Are you here to check in?" Her voice had that nervous warmth, I remembered. I gave her a slow smile and walked toward the counter, hands in my pockets. "Check in. Not quite. Though I must say, you keep a charming little place here, princess." Her eyes widened slightly. "Oh, you know who I am." "Of course." I stopped just short of the desk, letting my tone carry casual confidence. "Charlie Magni, daughter of Lucifer, attempting to redeem sinners and reform hell's reputation. Ambitious, really." Angel Dust snorted from the couch. "Oh, great, another fanboy." "Angel," Charlie said quickly, waving at him to hush. but she was still looking at me, and the confusion in her expression deepened the longer she stared. You, she tilted her head. You look like my dad, kind of, but different. I grinned lightly. I get that a lot. Husk groaned from the bar. Another wannabe royal. Fantastic. Now, I said smoothly, turning toward him. No need for hostility. I'm not here to cause trouble. Angel Dust stood, cigarette between his claws. You sure about that, Blondie? You're dressed like money, smell like heaven, and walk in here talking like a Bond villain. Guilty as charged, I said, amused, though I assure you I'm very much a devil. Charlie frowned slightly, uncertain whether I was joking. So, if you're not here to check in, what are you here for? I leaned one elbow casually on the counter. Curiosity. I was in the neighborhood, thought I'd see what all the optimism was about. Her eyes brightened a little. You've heard about the hotel. Oh, yes. A place for sinners to find redemption, earn a second chance at heaven. Lovely idea, though I can't imagine it's been easy. It's worth it, she said earnestly. Angel rolled his eyes. Sure, Sunshine, you keep telling yourself that. Charlie shot him a glare. Angel. I chuckled quietly, enjoying the rhythm of it all. It was strange, standing here among them, feeling the weight of knowledge they didn't have. I knew what was coming. Heaven's exterminators. Adam. The chaos that would nearly tear this little project apart. But for now, the hotel still stood, and its people still believed. I took a slow sip from the drink Husk reluctantly poured after I offered a smile that suggested I wasn't taking no for an answer. Gin, surprisingly decent. Charlie moved closer, curiosity outweighing caution. So, who are you exactly? You look like Dad, but your aura's totally different. It's brighter. I met her gaze. Let's just say I'm Lucifer Morningstar, though perhaps not the one you're used to. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Wait, so like, a different version of my dad. Angel snorted. What multiverse crap now? I spread my hands with mock modesty. Something like that. Charlie hesitated, then smiled again, visibly deciding to take it in stride. Well, either way, you're welcome here. We don't turn anyone away, no matter where they're from. That's very kind of you, I said lightly, though I suspect I can handle myself just fine. Nifty zipped over suddenly, eyes wide. Wow, you're so shiny. You look like Charlie's dad, but less pink. Thank you, darling, I said with a small nod. Angel Dust let out a laugh. Less pink, more smug. Careful, I said with a faint smile. I could take that as a compliment. The banter settled easily into the room. Charlie's nerves began to ease. Husk kept pretending not to listen. I leaned against the counter, studying them, the way Charlie's hope filled every word, the way Angel used sarcasm like armor, the quiet loyalty in Husk's silence. They were flawed, but there was something oddly human about them. I knew I didn't belong here. I wasn't their Lucifer. And yet, part of me felt drawn to stay, at least long enough to see how this little hotel survived the storm that was coming. Charlie looked up again, smiling with genuine warmth now. So, Mr. Morningstar, would you like to stay for a while? You don't have to join the redemption program or anything, but you're welcome to hang out, get to know everyone. I considered it. The idea of sitting through mortal rehabilitation sessions would have made the real DC Lucifer laugh himself hoarse. But me, I was curious. Why not? I said finally. I could use a bit of company. Angel lifted a brow. Guess the hotel just got itself another celebrity. Husk muttered into his glass. Fantastic. Charlie beamed. Great. Welcome to the Hazbin Hotel, Mr. Morningstar. I gave a polite bow of my head. Please, just Lucifer will do. As the evening stretched on, conversation turned casual. Angel told stories I already knew. Charlie spoke of dreams I knew would soon be tested, and I listened, half amused, half engaged. Each face was familiar from a show I once watched on a laptop before my death. Now they were right here, living, breathing, arguing. When Charlie finally excused herself to check on the kitchen, Angel turned toward me. So, big guy, what's your deal, really? You talk fancy, look weird, and you've got that I run the universe energy going on. I smiled faintly, resting an elbow on the bar. Let's just say I've been around a while. Husk snorted. Yeah, you don't look like it. Good genes, I said simply. Angel laughed, tossing back his drink. Whatever you say, Blondie. The conversation faded into easy noise. I leaned back, eyes wandering toward the window. Outside, the red sky flickered with distant lightning. Somewhere out there, Adam was still planning heaven's next purge. But for now, all was quiet. I finished my drink, set the glass down gently, and smiled to myself. This world didn't know what kind of devil had just arrived. Chapter 2. A Meeting of Devils. The next morning arrived the way most things in hell seem to, without rhythm or mercy. There was no sunrise, just a dull shift in the color of the sky outside the window of the room I had borrowed. The red light dimmed to a softer hue, and the constant noise of the city dropped to a lazy hum. I sat by the window, coffee cup in hand. Husk had brewed it after enough prodding and a promise not to rearrange his bar's furniture again. The bitterness cut through the air nicely. For once, it almost felt normal. Charlie's laughter echoed faintly from the hall as she tried to organize breakfast for the residents. Angel Dust complained about something to do with eggs. Nifty darted around with a duster twice her size. It was all so absurdly domestic. I almost enjoyed it. But I knew what today was. Lucifer Magni, the other Lucifer, her father, this world's true devil, the candy-coated ruler of hell who smiled like a stage performer and played the accordion when the mood struck. He was the one person I hadn't yet seen. And I knew it was only a matter of time before he appeared. Charlie had mentioned in passing the night before that her father sometimes visited when he had time. I remembered from canon that his appearances were rare, but not impossible. Still, I couldn't quite decide how that meeting would go. Two Lucifers, two rulers, two devils sharing the same name. I smiled faintly to myself. This should be interesting. The hotel doors opened downstairs sometime later, and the energy in the building shifted instantly. I heard Charlie's voice go high with surprise and joy. Angel Dust muttered something I didn't catch, followed by an awkward laugh. I stood, smoothing my jacket, and headed down the stairs. When I reached the lobby, there he was. Lucifer Magni stood near the entrance, tall, sharp, gleaming like he'd just stepped off the stage of a carnival. His coat was white and pink, cane twirling lightly in his hand, smile bright and effortless. His eyes glowed faintly with that unique mix of amusement and mischief I'd seen only in his animated self. Charlie ran to him, hugging him tightly. "Dad, you're here." He laughed softly, his tone musical and warm. "My dear, of course I am. I couldn't possibly miss visiting my favorite daughter now, could I?" He ruffled her hair and looked around the lobby. "You've done quite a lot with the place, I see. Still standing, still glowing. Well done." She smiled up at him, proud. "We've been doing our best. Oh, there's someone you should meet." He raised an eyebrow, curious. "Someone new." Charlie nodded quickly and turned toward me as I stepped off the last stair. "This is Lucifer Morningstar," she said brightly. Her father blinked, clearly processing the words. "I'm sorry, what did you just say?" I smiled politely, hands in my pockets, and walked closer. "Lucifer Morningstar, pleasure to meet you." He studied me for a long second, his grin frozen in place, the expression behind his eyes sharp with confusion and curiosity. Then, slowly, his smile returned, broader this time. "Well now, isn't that something?" Charlie looked between us, unsure. "Ah, Dad." Lucifer Magni waved her off, his grin widening. "Oh, darling, this is delightful. I never thought I'd meet another Lucifer, especially one who looks so unlike me." He walked closer, cane tapping lightly against the floor, studying me up and down. Blonde hair, golden eyes, immaculate suit. Oh, you're very different from me. Handsome, though, I do appreciate that. And your presence, goodness, it's like standing next to a thunderstorm in a tuxedo. I chuckled quietly. You flatter me. Always, he said happily, then twirled his cane once. So, you're another Lucifer. From where exactly? Not my hell, clearly. And not a demon I made. So, what are you? Charlie's eyes widened slightly, unsure if she should intervene. I kept my smile even. Let's just say I'm a Lucifer from another reality, a version of you, but with slightly different management strategies. His grin widened further. Oh, multiverse business then. How charming. I knew there had to be other realms, but I never thought one would send you through. Charlie blinked. Wait, you're okay with that? Of course I am, he said cheerfully. How often does one get to meet themselves from another world? It's fascinating. Besides, he seems polite, and he dresses properly. I inclined my head slightly. Coming from you, I'll take that as a compliment. He laughed brightly, twirling his cane again before leaning toward me. Tell me, other me, what do you do for fun where you come from? I run a nightclub in Los Angeles, I said calmly. Solve crimes, drink a lot of whiskey, occasionally annoy my brother. His eyes lit up with genuine delight. Oh, that's marvelous. A nightclub, crimes. You sound like a busy man, my kind of chaos. Angel Dust snickered from the couch. Two Lucifers, huh? I'm gonna need more booze for this. Husk groaned. Yeah, this is exactly what we needed. Two egos in the same room. Lucifer Magni turned toward him, smiling. Come now, Husk. Think of the possibilities. Twice the devil, twice the charm. I smirked lightly. Or twice the trouble. He laughed loudly, genuinely amused. Touché. Charlie sighed softly, clearly relieved that no one was fighting. This is actually going better than I expected. Her father reached out, patting her shoulder fondly. Darling, you really must learn to have faith in people, especially when they're me. I watched him quietly for a moment. He radiated energy, different from mine, but just as commanding. His power hummed subtly beneath his flamboyant tone, wrapped in layers of showmanship. You rule this place, don't you? I asked casually. He grinned. Oh, yes, though I do let the mortals have their fun. I keep the peace when it matters, but otherwise I let hell run itself. Too much micromanagement ruins the atmosphere, don't you agree? I nodded once. I prefer a more personal approach, one soul at a time. He leaned in slightly, eyes narrowing with playful curiosity. You are interesting. You sound more serious than me, less music, more menace. I'd say I'm selective, I replied smoothly. He chuckled. Fair. Well, I must admit this is rather exciting. Tell me, have you met my wife yet? Charlie froze. Dad. Lilith, I said, cutting her off. Not yet. Lucifer Magni tilted his head, grin faltering just a little. You know of her, then? I know more than a little, I said simply. Though don't worry, I'm not here to interfere, merely visiting. He stared for another long moment, the amusement in his eyes softening into curiosity. You really do know more than you should. How fascinating. Charlie smiled nervously. Dad, maybe we can have breakfast together. It'll be fun. You can tell him about the hotel. Lucifer Magni brightened immediately, the tension gone. Wonderful idea, my dear. Breakfast with myself. How could I say no? He gestured toward the dining area with a dramatic flourish. Come, come, let's eat. I want to hear all about this nightclub business. The meal was loud, chaotic, and oddly pleasant. Angel Dust flirted shamelessly with both of us. Husk drank through most of it. Nifty darted around refilling plates. Charlie tried to keep everyone focused. Lucifer Magni was talkative, gesturing wildly as he told stories about early hell, about building a kingdom from chaos. His version of hell was pure spectacle, colorful, unpredictable, driven by style. Mine had been different. When he paused for a sip of tea, I said lightly, Your realm is certainly vibrant. Less bureaucracy than I expected. He grinned. Oh, no paperwork for me. I leave that to Lilith. I just handle the parties. That explains much. He laughed again. And you, what's your hell like? Structured, balanced, built on consequences rather than chaos. I spent most of my time on Earth, though. I prefer its unpredictability. He nodded thoughtfully. I see. Two different devils for two different worlds. Charlie smiled between us, clearly thrilled that we weren't at each other's throats. You two actually get along really well. Lucifer Magni winked at her. Of course we do. We're delightful. Angel Dust laughed. You're both insufferable. Thank you, Angel, I said smoothly. That means a lot coming from you. He rolled his eyes. Yeah, keep your halo on. After the meal, Lucifer Magni led me to the garden, a warped, beautiful patch of land filled with glowing red roses and a small fountain shaped like a heart. He leaned against his cane, watching me. You're different from anyone I've met here. You carry yourself like you're never unsure. Most demons here wear their pain like perfume. You don't. I shrugged lightly. I've had a long time to get used to myself. Good answer, he said softly, then smiled again. I'm glad you're here, truly. It's nice to meet someone who understands the burden of the title. That surprised me. Genuine warmth, unguarded for just a heartbeat. I smiled faintly. You're more gracious than I expected. He grinned again, full of energy once more. Oh, I try. Hell's dull without a bit of grace. We stood in silence for a while after that, the faint hum of the city filling the distance. I could feel the weight of his power radiating gently, a different flavor of divinity than mine, but familiar enough. Two Lucifers, standing side by side, each from a different story, each shaped by different worlds. And somehow it worked. Chapter 3, The Devil's Bar. The following day, the city outside the Hazbin Hotel was unusually quiet. The kind of quiet that usually meant someone important had done something very foolish the night before. I stepped outside with my jacket over my shoulders, golden eyes watching the demons shuffle through the smoky haze. The red light above never changed, and the air always smelled faintly of ash. I had been in this world for only a few days, and already I understood its rhythm. Violence, chaos, and vanity ruled every block, but beneath it all was hunger, each soul looking for something to fill the emptiness hell never could. I decided to give them something to fill it with. By midday, I had secured a small building right beside the Hazbin Hotel. It was dusty, half collapsed, and smelled of alcohol that had been bad long before it was spilled. Still, it had potential, a bit of charm beneath the ruin. I spent the next several hours fixing it, reshaping the walls with a flick of my fingers, repairing the furniture, restoring the glass, and setting up a proper bar counter. The shelves filled themselves with bottles, each glowing faintly under the soft amber light I willed into being. When it was done, I stepped back, adjusting my cufflinks and admiring the result. The space looked timeless, clean lines, polished wood, soft lighting. The kind of place that invited people to forget for a few hours that they were damned. The sign outside read, Lux. It felt right. I poured myself a glass of whiskey, savoring the familiar taste, when I heard the first of them arrive. The sound of static filled the air before the door opened. Vox stepped inside, tall, sharp, dressed in his usual digital suit. His screen face flickered with static eyes that scanned the room. Valentino followed behind him, his grin wide and casual, cigarette dangling from his lips. Velvet trailed last, phone in hand, recording every corner of the place with quick flicks of her camera. Well, Vox said, voice crackling slightly as his screen flared to life. Didn't think anyone had the guts to open a business next to that hotel. You're either stupid or confident. I smiled faintly, placing my glass on the counter. Confidence is one of my better qualities. Valentino let out a low whistle. You're new, huh? Nice setup. Little too classy for this dump of a city, but I respect it. Velvet tilted her head, adjusting her glasses. Wait, I know that face. You're the guy that showed up at Charlie's place. The other Lucifer, right? Indeed, I said calmly. Lucifer Morningstar. Pleasure to meet you properly. Vox leaned against the counter, his grin stretching across his screen. So, the rumors are true. 2 Lucifers in hell. I've got to admit, that's wild. And here I thought the princess's dad was the only one with that name. He still is, Velvet said quickly, scrolling through her phone. But this one's different, way more human-looking. I'm not sure what the deal is yet. I poured 3 glasses of whiskey and slid them across the bar. Let's not make it complicated. You're welcome to enjoy a drink if you're here for business or entertainment. Valentino chuckled, taking a seat. Now that's the kind of talk I like. Vox ignored his drink. His eyes flickered, studying me with a sharper edge now. Word around the city is you're powerful, too powerful. So I've got to ask, what's your deal? You got the same limitations as the real Lucifer, or are you just a fancy fake with good PR? The air went still. Even Velvet looked up from her phone. I met Vox's stare evenly, my tone calm but clear. Limitations. You're referring to your Lucifer's little divine handicap, the one that keeps him from harming sinners. Yeah, Vox said, his grin fading slightly. That one. I smiled slowly, resting both hands on the counter. Then allow me to clarify 2 things for you, Vox. He leaned in slightly, static flickering louder. First, I said, my voice smooth, deliberate. I'm the real Lucifer, he's the copy. The words hit the room with quiet finality. Valentino raised his brows. You serious? Completely, I said. Velvet blinked. You're saying our Lucifer Magni is fake. I'm saying, I continued, that I am the original, the first one, the concept he's built on, the devil that existed before your hell ever imagined itself. Silence stretched for several seconds. Vox's static crackled again, his grin returning, but thinner this time. Big words. Anyone can claim to be the original. I chuckled softly, which brings me to my second point. The lights in the room dimmed just a little as I raised my hand. The whiskey bottle beside him rose slowly off the counter, spinning lazily in the air. His eyes flickered as static surged across his screen. I don't have his limitations, I said quietly. So if you decide to piss me off, there's absolutely nothing stopping me from killing you. The bottle shattered with a sharp crack, glass raining down across the floor. The sound echoed in the silence that followed. Vox froze, his grin twitched. Valentino's cigarette slipped slightly from his lips. Velvet lowered her phone. For a few seconds, none of them spoke. Then, slowly, Vox's grin returned, wider this time, though his voice carried less amusement. Message received, loud and clear. Good, I said, brushing glass from the counter. I do prefer a polite neighborhood. Valentino laughed after a moment, forced but friendly. Man, you've got some nerve, I like that. Don't worry, big guy, we won't start trouble. Right, Vox. Vox glanced at him, then back at me. Right. Velvet finally found her voice. You're terrifying, you know that. Frequently, I said mildly. Now, are you 3 going to sit and drink, or are you here to glare at me? Valentino grinned again, easing back into his seat. You know what? I'll drink to the new bar owner, the scariest blonde bastard in the city. I smiled faintly, pouring him another glass. Cheers. Vox finally sat as well, though he didn't touch his drink. You really don't plan to follow Magni's little no-violence policy, huh? No, I said simply. I follow my own. Velvet frowned. Which is what exactly? I looked up at her. Respect me, and you'll have nothing to fear. Cross me, and you'll never make the same mistake twice. Her throat bobbed as she nodded slowly. For the next hour, the tension faded into something closer to curiosity. Valentino began talking again, loudly as usual, telling stories about deals gone wrong. Vox kept his tone measured, trying to probe for weakness but finding none. Velvet stayed mostly quiet, typing notes into her phone and occasionally recording snippets of the bar's atmosphere. I listened, occasionally offering small, amused comments. When Valentino got too loud, I dimmed the lights with a glance. When Vox's static rose too sharply, I silenced it with a flick of my finger. Small reminders, nothing overt, but enough to show control. When they finally stood to leave, Vox paused by the door. "You really are something else, Lucifer." "I know," I said easily. He gave a short laugh, more genuine this time. "You've got guts. I'll give you that. Just don't mess with our networks. You leave my systems alone, I'll leave your little bar alone." "Agreed," I said, smiling faintly. "Though if you ever need a drink, you know where to find me." He nodded once, then turned and left, static trailing faintly behind him. Valentino gave me a two-finger salute as he followed, while Velvet muttered a soft, crazy bastard under her breath before stepping outside. The bar went quiet again. I leaned against the counter, picking up my glass and finishing the last sip of whiskey. The faint hum of energy around me eased back into stillness. Outside, the city pulsed with distant noise again. Demon voices, laughter, the low rumble of another fight breaking out somewhere nearby. I looked toward the hotel through the window. The lights inside were warm, soft, alive. Charlie was probably still working, still believing she could save everyone. And next door, I had opened something far more practical. A bar. A place where the damned could come to forget. It was a good start. Chapter 4. 2 devils, 1 bar. Lux had become the calmest point on that street. Demons walked past it without fights breaking out for the first time in years. The warm glow from its windows softened the air outside, and every night, laughter and the clink of glasses filled the room instead of screams. It had been a week since my first run-in with Vox and his little entourage. They'd been polite ever since. No one else had dared to cause trouble either. In hell, word spread fast. The night I met the other Lucifer again, the air felt heavier before he even arrived. I was cleaning a glass when the door opened without a sound. The smell of candy, perfume, and faint brimstone entered with him. Lucifer Magni stepped inside wearing his usual spotless white-hand pink suit. The cane clicked once on the floor before he looked around with a pleased smile. "Well, well, you've been busy," he said cheerfully. "I heard rumors of a new place opening beside my daughter's hotel. I didn't expect it to be run by you." I smiled, setting the glass aside. I prefer to stay productive. Besides, every hell needs a proper bar. He laughed softly and took a seat at the counter. "You really are something else. The decor is splendid, very modern, very polished. Reminds me of something Lilith would design." "High praise, I'm sure," I said lightly, pouring him a drink before he could ask. He eyed the glass, then looked at me again. "Whiskey, you know me well already." "I know everyone well," I said with a faint smirk. He sipped the drink and hummed in satisfaction. "Perfect. Smooth, smoky, much better than the usual rotgut around here. I do have standards." He laughed again, resting both elbows on the counter. "So tell me, why open a bar right beside my daughter's little redemption project, planning to keep an eye on her?" "Partly," I said, polishing another glass, "but mostly because this location is convenient. Sinners are thirsty creatures. They drink after they sin, before they sin, and sometimes while they sin." Lucifer Magni grinned. "That's true. You have a good sense for business." He glanced around, tapping his fingers lightly on the counter. "Vox and his friends visited, didn't they?" "They did," I said calmly. "They were curious." He chuckled. "Ah, of course they were. The V's hate surprises. They've been nervous ever since you appeared. Vox doesn't like anyone he can't control." "He'll learn," I said. Lucifer Magni looked amused. "You didn't kill him, did you?" "No, we had an understanding. He stays polite, I stay civil." Lucifer Magni lifted his glass in approval. "Wise approach. Still, I hope you realize you're attracting attention. Hell notices power, especially new power, and you're not subtle." I've never pretended to be, I said evenly. He smiled at that. Fair enough. For a while, we drank in silence. The music in the background was soft, piano, nothing dramatic. Lucifer Magni seemed comfortable, twirling his cane idly as he studied the shelves of bottles. This place suits you, he said finally. Classy, controlled, almost human. I spent a lot of time among humans, I said. They have a certain charm. He laughed. So I've heard. I only visit the mortal world for inspiration. It's fascinating, but I prefer home. Understandable, I said. You built it. He grinned proudly. Exactly. The door opened again then, letting in the smell of smoke and sugar. Charlie's voice came first. Dad, oh, you're here. She stepped inside with angel dust right behind her, followed by Vaggie. Nifty darted in after them, cleaning rag in hand. Charlie's eyes widened when she saw us. Oh, you're both here. Indeed, her father said brightly, waving his cane. Just sampling our neighbor's fine establishment. Angel Dust whistled, looking around. Damn, this place is nice, like real nice. I could get used to drinking here. You already drink enough, Vaggie muttered. Yeah, but here it looks classy, Angel replied with a grin. I chuckled, stepping out from behind the bar. You're all welcome, of course. First rounds on the house. Charlie smiled brightly. That's really kind of you. We just wanted to stop by and see how everything was going. Some of the guests said they saw the V's hanging around here, and well, I worried they might have caused trouble. Nothing serious, I said lightly. We had a civil chat. They're alive, aren't they? Vaggie crossed her arms, still frowning. I don't trust them. Nor should you, I said, but they know where not to step now. Lucifer Magni laughed. I told you he handles things differently, my dear. Charlie sighed. As long as nobody's getting hurt. Angel Dust leaned against the counter. You got anything strong? Something that'll make me forget I live in hell. I poured him a glass without comment. He took a sip and nearly choked. Okay, yeah, that'll do it. Nifty zoomed around the tables, inspecting every inch of the room. It's so clean and shiny. Can I help tidy up sometime? You're welcome anytime, I said with a small smile. Lucifer Magni stood, clapping his hands together once. Well, this has been delightful. 2 Lucifers, 1 bar, and no explosions. That's progress for hell. Charlie groaned softly. Dad, please don't jinx it. He laughed and gestured at me with his cane. He's the reason it's calm, not me. I can tell. Vaggie eyed me cautiously. You really think he's harmless? Lucifer Magni chuckled. Oh no, not harmless, just professional. Angel Dust grinned. That's one way to put it. They settled in after that. Charlie talked about new plans for the hotel, trying to expand outreach to demons too violent for redemption. Vaggie pointed out how difficult that would be. Lucifer Magni listened fondly, but didn't interrupt her optimism. I poured drinks, listening quietly, occasionally adding a remark when the topic turned to hell's structure or how heaven handled sinners. Charlie listened attentively every time I spoke. Her father looked quietly impressed each time she nodded. After an hour, Lucifer Magni stood again. Well, this has been wonderful, but I should be going. Lilith will want to know about our new neighbor. Tell her I said hello, I said politely. He smiled. I will. She'll probably stop by soon. He tapped his cane lightly on the floor, and a faint shimmer followed him as he vanished, leaving only the smell of sweet smoke behind. Charlie sighed. He always leaves like that, never uses doors. Doors are underrated, I said. Angel Dust raised his glass. To the new bar, and to not getting vaporized by your dad. Angel, Vaggie hissed. What, it's true, he said, laughing. Charlie shook her head, but smiled anyway. Thank you for letting us come by. This place really is amazing. It's meant to be, I said simply. A calm space in a loud world. Vaggie gave me a cautious nod. You're not so bad, Just stay on your side of the street. I smiled slightly. Of course. Angel Dust finished his drink and stretched. Guess we should head back. Charlie's got work, and I got other work. Angel, Charlie scolded, cheeks pink. He grinned. What, a guy, gotta make rent. They left together soon after, Charlie calling a cheerful goodbye over her shoulder. Nifty waved excitedly before darting after them. Vaggie gave one last suspicious look before closing the door behind her. The room went quiet again. The glasses gleamed under the light. The faint sound of laughter from the hotel drifted across the street. I stood behind the bar, refilling my own glass. It was peaceful now, the kind of quiet that felt earned. Lucifer Magni's visit had gone smoother than I expected. He seemed genuinely curious about me, not threatened. Charlie's warmth hadn't faded even after learning what I'd done with the V's. The others were cautious, but not hostile. For now, that was enough. The whiskey burned pleasantly as I drank. Tomorrow would bring something new. Chapter 5. Music in Hell. Lux had settled into its rhythm. By the end of the week, the bar was known across the nearby streets as neutral ground. Sinners came in, drank, argued, and left alive. No fights broke out. No one tested me twice. Word of that kind of safety traveled fast. It was mid-afternoon when Charlie arrived again, her cheerful knock echoing through the quiet space before she peeked through the doorway. Lucifer, are you busy? I looked up from behind the counter, where I'd been organizing bottles. Never too busy for you, princess. What brings you by today? She stepped in, holding a clipboard tightly against her chest. Vaggie followed her, more guarded as usual, glancing around the bar like she was checking for hidden traps. Angel Dust strolled in last, sunglasses on, looking like he owned the place. Charlie smiled brightly. I had an idea, and I wanted to ask if we could use your bar for it, just for one night. I raised an eyebrow. My, already planning a takeover. Her smile didn't falter. Not at all. It's for something good. I want to host a music night here, something to bring the residents together. Singing, a little dancing, maybe even help show the others that not every night in hell has to be violent. Angel Dust leaned against a stool, smirking. Basically, she wants a party that doesn't end in blood. That would be a nice change of pace, I said calmly. And what do you expect from me exactly? Charlie's voice softened slightly. Just permission to use the space. I promise we'll clean up after, and I'll make sure no one damages anything. Vaggie crossed her arms. It'll help the hotel's image. People respect this place already, so hosting it here could draw a better crowd. She was right about that. Lux had become the one location even the most aggressive demons avoided starting fights in. A musical night here might actually keep order. I smiled slightly. Very well. You can use Lux for your event. I'll even provide the drinks, though I expect your guests to pay their tabs. Charlie clapped her hands, excited. Thank you. This is going to be amazing. Dad might even come. I paused. Your father. She nodded quickly. He loves music. He'd never miss a chance to perform, even if he pretends otherwise. I chuckled softly. Then I suppose we'll need a piano in here. Already got one, Angel Dust said, nodding toward the corner. Picked it up last week. Husk dragged it in cause he said a bar without a piano was an insult. Smart cat, I said. All right then, let's make it work. Charlie beamed, thanking me again before rushing off to make plans. That evening came faster than I expected. By the time I opened Lux's doors, the interior had transformed. Charlie and Nifty had decorated with strings of warm lights and bright ribbons, somehow managing to make the bar even more inviting. The scent of sweet pastries mixed with alcohol filled the room. Demons from the hotel began arriving one by one. Husk was behind the bar at my side, grumbling but working efficiently. Angel Dust lounged near the stage, chatting with several guests. Vaggie stood guard by the entrance, arms folded, scanning everyone who came in. Then Charlie walked in, dressed in a white and gold suit that matched her usual color palette. Her enthusiasm lit up the room. She carried a microphone stand in one hand and waved as she saw me. "Lucifer, this place looks incredible. Thank you again for letting us use it." "Don't mention it," I said smoothly. "You seem to be the only person in this city who still believes in fun without chaos." She laughed softly. "I'm trying." Before I could say more, the doors opened again, and all sound dimmed for a second. Lucifer Magni entered. He was as flamboyant as ever, cane in hand, coat crisp and shining under the lights. His smile widened as he looked around. My, what a lively sight. "Charlie, darling, you've outdone yourself." "Dad," Charlie exclaimed, rushing over to hug him. "You made it." "Of course I did. Music and my daughter. I couldn't resist," he said happily, returning her embrace. He looked over at me then, eyes bright. "Ah, my other self, fancy meeting you again, and hosting an event no less." "Only temporarily," I said lightly. "She's the organizer. I'm just the bartender tonight." He chuckled, tapping his cane on the floor. "Well, I'll try not to steal your spotlight then." Angel Dust, leaning nearby, grinned. "Oh, this is gonna be good. 2 Lucifers, 1 mic." Husk groaned. "Don't encourage it." Charlie clapped her hands, pulling attention back to the small stage. "All right, everyone. Thank you for coming. Tonight, it's about relaxing, having fun, and showing that hell can enjoy a good song without violence. We're all friends here." There was polite applause. A few demons muttered, but stayed quiet under my gaze. Charlie smiled brightly. "To start us off, Dad, would you?" Lucifer Magni gave an exaggerated bow. "With pleasure, my dear." He twirled his cane, leapt lightly onto the stage, and the room instantly brightened as he began to play. The music was jazzy and quick, the kind of tune that made even the most miserable sinner tap a foot. His voice filled the space, smooth and confident. Charlie joined in, harmonizing beside him, her excitement contagious. The room responded, the guests clapped, laughed, and even Angel Dust sang a few lines from his seat. I stayed behind the bar, pouring drinks and watching the crowd. For a place built on sin, it looked almost peaceful. After a few songs, Lucifer Magni stepped down, beaming with satisfaction. Now that was fun. Charlie looked toward me. "Would you like to sing next?" I raised an eyebrow. "You're asking me to perform." She nodded eagerly. "Why not? You're named Lucifer, too. You must have a great voice." Lucifer Magni laughed. "Oh, he does, I'm sure. Come on, other me, don't be shy." I sighed lightly, but stepped toward the stage. The crowd murmured with curiosity. I sat at the piano, adjusted the mic slightly, and began to play. The melody was slower, steadier, blues-inspired. My voice carried easily through the room, low, measured, and calm. The crowd quieted, listening. The song wasn't dramatic, just smooth and controlled. By the end, there was silence, then applause. Charlie's eyes sparkled. "That was amazing." "Thank you," I said simply, standing and returning to the bar. Lucifer Magni clapped his hands, laughing. "You're full of surprises, aren't you? I knew there was music in you somewhere." "I'm adaptable," I said, pouring another round for the guests. The rest of the evening continued with smaller performances. Angel Dust sang a surprisingly good cabaret number. Vaggie didn't perform, but kept everything orderly. Even Husk played a short piano solo after much convincing. By the end, the room was warm with laughter and light conversation. Lucifer Magni joined me behind the bar once more, leaning on his cane. "You know," he said, "this went better than I expected. My daughter's dream is spreading faster than she realizes." "She's determined," I said. "That helps." He smiled softly. "It does. She reminds me of Lilith that way." Charlie came over, still flushed from excitement. "Thank you both for being here. This was perfect. No fights, no trouble, just music and friends." "Credit goes to you," I said genuinely. "You made it happen." She beamed, hugging her father tightly. I'm so happy right now. He laughed. You deserve to be, my dear. Tonight was wonderful. Vaggie approached, nodding slightly toward me. You handled the bar well. Didn't think I'd say it, but thank you. I smiled faintly. I do my best. Angel Dust stretched, yawning. All right, I'm calling it a night before anyone gets sentimental. Good idea, Husk muttered. They began gathering their things, chatting quietly as they left. Charlie lingered last, waving goodbye. Thank you again, Lucifer, both of you. Anytime, Princess, I said. After the door closed, only the two Lucifers remained. Lucifer Magni looked at me thoughtfully. You know, you'd make a fine host. Hell could use more places like this. I'm not in the business of ruling anymore, I said. He grinned. Still, you've made a difference here already, even if you don't see it. He finished his drink, set the glass down, and straightened his hat. Good night, other me. I'll see you soon. He disappeared in a shimmer of light, leaving the faint scent of sugar and smoke. I exhaled slowly, glancing around the quiet bar. The light still glowed softly, the piano sat still, and empty glasses lined the counter. It had been a good night. Chapter 6. The Hotel Invitation. The day after the musical night, Lux was still quiet. Husk cleaned the bar while I checked the shelves. The air smelled faintly of whiskey and dust. It had been a smooth evening, better than I'd expected, but the idea of redemption for sinners still struck me as naive. In my hell, the true one, souls didn't find peace or earn second chances. Damnation was final. Justice had a structure there, a purpose. This version of hell, on the other hand, was chaos pretending to be hope. The door opened softly, and Charlie stepped inside. She looked bright as always, her posture full of enthusiasm that didn't seem to belong in a place like this. Good morning, Lucifer, she said cheerfully. I looked up from the counter. Princess, to what do I owe the pleasure? She walked closer, holding her hands behind her back. I wanted to thank you again for letting us use the bar last night. It went better than I could have dreamed. You did well, I said simply. You kept the peace and even got your father to behave. Quite an accomplishment. She smiled. He can be a bit much sometimes, but he means well. I've noticed. Her tone shifted then, cautious but still bright. Actually, I wanted to ask you something. A favor. Oh, I said, raising an eyebrow. I was wondering if you'd come to the hotel for a day, she said quickly. Not for anything big, I just thought you might like to see how everything works. You've been so kind to us, and you're right next door. It feels strange that you've never actually visited properly. I paused, half amused. You're inviting me to spend a day in your redemption hotel. She nodded. Yes, you could meet some of the other residents, maybe even give them a little encouragement. I couldn't help but laugh. It was quiet but genuine. Encouragement. My dear, I'm not sure my version of encouragement is what you're hoping for. Charlie smiled, not catching the sarcasm. Still, I'd love for you to come. It would mean a lot to everyone. Her tone was so earnest that it was impossible to refuse without looking cruel. I sighed lightly. Very well, I'll stop by. Really? She said excitedly. Yes, really. Just don't expect miracles. She laughed softly. That's fine, thank you, Lucifer. She hurried off to prepare, and I followed later that afternoon. The Hazbin Hotel looked the same as always. Bright, clean, slightly too cheerful for a building surrounded by screaming demons and fire. I stepped through the doors, and the noise of conversation stopped for a moment as several residents turned to stare. Vaggie appeared almost instantly, her tone cautious. Charlie said you were coming, but I didn't think you'd actually do it. Surprise, I said easily. I keep my promises. Angel Dust waved from the couch, grinning. Well, look who's here. Guess the fancy devil decided to slum it with the rest of us. Only briefly, I said. Husk looked up from the bar in the corner, gave me a nod, then went back to his drink. Nifty zipped in from the hallway, smiling widely. Oh, hi again. You look different in the daytime. Still handsome, though. Thank you, darling, I said, amused. Charlie appeared a moment later, clapping her hands together. Okay, everyone's here. Lucifer, welcome to the Hazbin Hotel. I'm so glad you came. I'm glad, too, I said politely, though inwardly I found it mildly ridiculous. She gestured for me to follow. Let me give you a tour. The tour was thorough, if unnecessary. She showed me the lounge, the small library, the kitchen where Nifty was already cleaning again, and the training area that Vaggie used for combat practice. And this, she said as we entered the main hall, is where we hold our group sessions. Everyone shares something they've learned or something they want to work on. It helps them see that change is possible. Change, I said lightly, glancing around the spotless room. An admirable illusion. Vaggie frowned. You don't believe in redemption. In my experience, I said, souls in hell are here because they chose to be, because they did what they wanted, consequences and all. Change rarely follows that kind of conviction. Charlie's smile dimmed only slightly. But don't you think everyone deserves a second chance? No, I said calmly. They deserve what they earned. Her expression softened instead of hardening. Maybe that's true in your world, but here I want to try anyway. I studied her face for a moment. The determination there wasn't forced. She believed every word. It was hard not to respect that, even if it was foolish. Before I could respond, the sound of static laughter echoed faintly through the room. A moment later, the door opened, and a tall figure entered. Alastair, the infamous radio demon, dressed in his usual red suit, grin wide and unbroken. The air shifted the moment he stepped inside, that strange static buzz filling the background like a low hum. Well, 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 he said brightly, voice echoing like an old broadcast. What a pleasant surprise. The infamous new Lucifer has graced us with his presence. Charlie perked up instantly. Alastair, you're just in time. Lucifer's visiting today. Indeed I am, I said, turning to face him. And you must be the famous Alastair. He tipped his hat with a grin. Guilty as charged. Oh, I've heard so much about you. Opening a bar right next to our humble hotel, frightening Vox and his friends. Oh, it's been quite the talk of the town. Word travels fast in hell, I said evenly. He laughed, that sharp static tone filling the air again. It does, doesn't it? I must say, I've been terribly curious about you. Two Lucifers in one city. It's almost poetic. Almost, I said. He walked closer, eyes narrowing slightly but the smile never fading. Tell me, are you here to compete with our dear princess, or simply spectate? Neither, I said. I'm here because she invited me. Alastair's grin widened further. Ah, hospitality, how wonderful. She does have that effect on people. Charlie frowned. Alastair, don't tease. Perish the thought, he said cheerfully. He turned back to me. You know, I must admit I'm impressed. Most newcomers either cower or cause trouble. But you've managed to do neither while still unsettling half the city. That takes skill. I try, I said lightly. He tilted his head. Tell me something, old boy. Do you intend to stay long in our charming corner of damnation? For the moment, yes, I said. I find the company entertaining. His eyes glimmered faintly. Excellent. I do love new entertainment. Charlie quickly stepped between us, her tone bright but firm. Alastair, be nice. Lucifer's a guest. Of course, my dear, he said, bowing slightly. Always the perfect host. He turned toward me again, grin sharp. Perhaps we'll share a broadcast someday. I do enjoy a good conversation. I'll keep that in mind, I said. Alastair's laughter echoed again before he turned to Charlie. Well, my dear, I'll leave you to your tour. Do let me know if our guest decides to stay longer. I'd love to see what kind of music he prefers. With that, he vanished, the air snapping faintly as his presence faded. Charlie sighed. Sorry about that. He can be a lot. He's interesting, I said. A predator pretending to be polite. I've met the type. Vaggie frowned. You don't trust him. Should I asked. Charlie hesitated. He helped us once. He's unpredictable. That's one word for it, I said. We continued the tour after that. She introduced me to a few residents, explained the routines, and showed how they encouraged small acts of kindness. It was all very organized, but the results were questionable. Most of the demons I met still carried the same hollow eyes, the same instinct for cruelty buried under false smiles. By evening, she led me back to the lobby. The light outside had dimmed to deep crimson. Thank you for coming, Lucifer, she said sincerely. I know you don't really believe in what we're doing, but I'm glad you gave it a chance. I nodded. You're persistent. That's rare here. She smiled. Maybe one day I'll change your mind. I chuckled softly. Unlikely, but I respect the attempt. Vaggie approached, watching me carefully. You didn't cause trouble. That's good. I rarely do, I said. Angel Dust stretched, yawning. So, big guy, what you think of the tour? Gonna sign up for redemption? I smirked. I think I'll pass. He laughed. Didn't think so. Charlie walked me to the door, still smiling. You're welcome anytime, Lucifer, even if you just want to talk. I'll keep that in mind, princess, I said, stepping outside. The city air was thick again, red light flickering against the skyline. I glanced back once at the hotel's glowing sign, then turned toward Lux. Behind me, their laughter drifted faintly through the air. For all its absurdity, I could admit one thing. Charlie's persistence made hell feel a little less empty. Chapter 7. The Devil Keeps Order. Morning in hell didn't bring sunlight, it just brought noise. Somewhere outside, a fight broke out, and the sound of something heavy hit the ground. Inside Lux, the air was calm as always. Husk had opened early, cleaning glasses while grumbling under his breath. I was sitting at the bar with a newspaper that wasn't worth reading, nursing my first drink of the day. I preferred quiet mornings. Hell rarely provided them. That was when the static started. The faint, tinny distortion filled the air first, crawling under the silence like bad radio reception. Husk's ears twitched, and he muttered something unpleasant. The door pushed open, and Vox stepped inside. His screen face flickered with that same artificial grin as he scanned the room. Morning, Lux, miss me. I didn't move from my seat. Barely. Husk poured himself a drink, sighing. You're already making noise, Vox. It's too early. Vox chuckled, his voice crackling faintly. Just came to talk, cat. No need to get your feathers ruffled. He approached the counter, his shoes tapping against the polished floor. You've been popular lately, Lucifer. Everyone's talking about your little bar. Seems like the city S starting to like you more than us Vs. I looked up at him slowly. Popularity isn't something I chase. It just happens when you're good at what you do. Static flared faintly across his face, his grin widening. Sure, still, it's bad for business. People don't come to me for entertainment when they're drinking here instead. That sounds like a you problem, I said smoothly. Before he could respond, the lights in the room flickered for just a second. The air tightened, carrying a faint hum that wasn't mechanical. A second later, another voice filled the room, clear, old-fashioned, and full of static charm. Ah, what a coincidence. Alastair stepped through the door, his tall frame as straight as ever, smile wide and fixed. His cane tapped once against the floor as he looked around. I was just thinking how much I'd like to see our new friend again, and here we are. He turned his gaze toward Vox, his grin somehow sharper. Oh, and it seems I've walked in on a reunion. How splendid. Vox's grin flickered briefly. You. Me, Alastair said brightly. It's been quite some time, hasn't it, old boy? Still hiding behind those screens of yours. Vox's tone dropped. Still acting like it's the 1930s, I see. Alastair laughed, that familiar static buzz echoing faintly through the air. A classic never goes out of style. Husk sighed behind the counter. Oh, great. This is gonna be fun. The tension built almost immediately. Vox's grin tightened, his body humming with electrical energy. Alastair's cane tapped the ground rhythmically, that endless grin locked in place. I set down my glass and stood slowly. Gentlemen, I said, if you're going to posture, please take it outside. I don't allow fights in my bar. Neither of them moved. Vox's voice rose. You think you can order me around in my own city, Lucifer? You might scare everyone else, but I'm not. Alastair's static laughter cut through him. Your city? How adorable. You can't even control your own network without hiding behind cameras. Vox snapped his head toward him, static roaring through the air. You want to test that freak? Alastair's smile widened unnaturally. Gladly. The air between them cracked with energy as Vox raised his hand, electricity sparking across his body. Alastair's shadows twitched at his feet, stretching like living smoke. Husk backed up instantly, muttering under his breath. Before either of them could move further, I sighed softly. Enough. The word wasn't loud, but it filled the room. Power rolled off me in a wave so small I barely bothered to think about it. The floor trembled. The lights dimmed. Both Vox and Alastair froze mid-motion. Vox's electricity fizzled out in a stuttering crackle. Alastair's cane slipped from his hand and clattered to the floor as his body locked in place. Their eyes widened slightly, confusion breaking through their usual smugness. I walked between them slowly, straightening my cuffs as I spoke. I told you not to fight in my bar. I dislike repeating myself. Vox struggled to move, his voice glitching. What the hell are you doing? Just a reminder, I said casually. You two seem to think you're apex predators here. You're not. Alastair's grin twitched faintly, his voice strained but polite. Impressive power you have there. I stopped between them, hands clasped behind my back. This is a fraction of what I can do. I suggest you take that into consideration before breaking furniture in my establishment. Vox tried to lift his arm. It didn't move. Sparks sputtered out from his screen. You think you scare me. I turned my head slightly. I don't think I know. For a moment, silence filled the room again. The only sound was the faint hum of the neon sign outside and the slow creak of the bar's ceiling fan. I let go of the restraint with a thought. Both of them dropped to the floor. Alastair caught himself quickly, straightening his jacket and retrieving his cane with forced composure. Vox hit the ground harder, his static glitching once before he pushed himself up. They both avoided my gaze now. I walked back to my stool and picked up my drink. Now, if you two are quite finished, I'd like to go back to my morning in peace. Vox stood fully, his screen face flickering with static. His tone was sharp but careful. You just made a mistake, Lucifer. No one humiliates me and gets away with it. I looked up slowly, meeting his glare. Would you like to try again and see how that ends for you? The static cut out. He froze, then turned sharply toward the door. This isn't over, he muttered before walking out. Husk exhaled. Good riddance. Alastair adjusted his bow tie, still smiling though his tone was lighter. Well, that was certainly educational. I must admit, I didn't expect such overwhelming strength. Most don't, I said, finishing my drink. Now, are you planning to follow his example, or are you going to behave? Alastair chuckled, his voice smooth again. Oh, I'm not foolish enough to test you. Quite the opposite. I think I rather like you, Lucifer. That's dangerous to say, I replied. He tipped his hat. Perhaps, but power attracts power, doesn't it? You're fascinating. I didn't respond. I simply refilled my glass and gestured toward the bar stool. If you're staying, sit. If you're leaving, do it quietly. He sat, still smiling. So serious. Tell me, do you ever relax? When I'm left alone. He laughed, the static hum returning but softer now. Fair enough. I'll have whatever the house special is then. Husk poured him a drink without a word, sliding it across the counter. Alastair took a slow sip, eyes flicking toward me again. You really do shake the balance around here, he said conversationally. Vox won't take this lightly. I don't care, I said. He'll behave or he won't exist. Simple enough. Alastair grinned wider. Direct, I like that. Husk groaned softly. Great, now they're friends. Alastair laughed again. Oh, don't be so glum, Husk. The city just gained a new top dog. You should be thrilled. Thrilled isn't the word I'd use, Husk muttered. I leaned back slightly. Tell me something, Alastair. What exactly do you want from this place? He smiled pleasantly. Entertainment, chaos, a bit of fun before eternity gets too dull, nothing grand. I nodded once. Then we won't have problems as long as you keep that fun outside my walls. Understood. He raised his glass slightly in a mock toast. To boundaries, then. To silence, I said, clinking my glass lightly against his. The rest of the hour passed in relative quiet. Alastair stayed seated, content to drink and make small talk with Husk. When he finally stood, he left with his usual exaggerated bow. I do hope we meet again soon, Lucifer. This was delightful. Try not to bring your fans next time, I said. He laughed, disappearing through the door. Husk muttered under his breath. That's gonna make noise in the city. Let them talk, I said. I refilled my glass, watching the bubbles rise in the amber liquid. Outside, the streets buzzed faintly with hell's usual chaos. Inside, everything remained still. A simple balance, exactly how I preferred it. Chapter 9, The Gathering of Power. The next day began like any other in Lux, quiet, steady, balanced. Husk wiped down the counter while muttering about the smell of smoke that never left his fur. I sat at the end of the bar, one leg crossed over the other, idly tracing the rim of my glass. The air felt heavier than usual. It wasn't random tension. It was power, several distinct signatures moving through the streets at once. Most demons radiated noise, these ones carried focus. I set the glass down. They're coming here, I said. Husk groaned. What now? Overlords, I replied. All of them. He froze, then sighed. I'm not cleaning up after this. The front doors opened almost on cue. First came Vox, Valentino, and Velvet, same as before, but behind them followed others, beings who rarely left their territories. Rosie stepped in with her porcelain grin, parasol twirling idly though there was no sun. Carmilla Carmine followed, tall and regal, her crimson gown trailing smoke. Zestial, all calm arrogance and silver eyes, strolled in like a king inspecting his own palace. Velvet, the youngest of the power holders, skipped in behind them, her camera phone flashing constantly. Helsa von Eldritch, sharp and cold as ice, moved beside Crimson Gosha, whose fedora shadowed his expression. From the hell of a boss sphere came Asmodeus, towering and gleaming, his feathers catching the bar's light, with Fizzaroli perched comfortably on his shoulder. Stolar's Gosha arrived soon after, tall and elegant, his expression curious rather than hostile. Stella trailed a short distance behind him, eyes narrow, refusing to look impressed. Even Payman had come, calm and unreadable. It was the most concentrated power this street had ever seen. Husk stared openly. You've got to be kidding me. I straightened my jacket. Welcome to Lux, I said, voice smooth. You're early. Drinks are on me for the first round. After that, you pay. They spread out through the room, most taking seats while keeping a polite distance from one another. Power always carried ego, and the air thickened with it. Vox leaned on the counter first. Told you he was real. He's the reason half the city's gone quiet. Rosie smiled pleasantly. Quiet can be good. Chaos is so tiring when it drags on. Carmilla gave a faint nod. Still, I prefer to know who's responsible for shifting the balance. Zestial's tone was dry. A new devil appears, and none of us were consulted. I'd call that interesting. Velvet grinned. He's hot, so I don't mind. Valentino exhaled smoke and laughed. Speak for yourself. I poured drinks for those who accepted them, moving with deliberate calm. Curiosity is natural. You're all used to being the ones others fear. Consider this a new experience. Asmodeus's laugh rolled deep and smooth. Confidence, I like that. You remind me of myself. Fizzaroli grinned, except taller. I smiled faintly and quieter. That drew a small ripple of laughter around the bar, even from Rosie. Stolas approached next, studying me with interest. You are not of this hell. Your aura is foreign. Accurate, I said. Let's call me a visitor from a more structured inferno. He nodded thoughtfully. Fascinating. Stella crossed her arms. Another Lucifer, as if one wasn't enough. Two, Velvet said brightly, snapping another picture. Double the drama. Crimson's low voice cut through the noise. Drama doesn't interest me. Business does. You planning to open more bars, or is this your only claim? This one will do, I said. I don't need empires. Rosie's tone was calm but pointed. Yet you already influence half the city without trying. That makes people nervous. I've noticed, I said. Vox's screen flickered with static again. We're not nervous, just cautious. Of course, I said, smiling. You're always cautious right before you panic. Valentino nearly choked on his drink laughing. Vox shot him a glare. Before the tension could rise further, the door opened again. Charlie hurried in, papers in hand, her smile as bright as ever. Oh good, you're all here. Every overlord turned toward her. She walked right up to the group, completely unfazed by the room's weight. I heard some of you were visiting Lucifer today, so I thought it'd be a perfect time to talk about the Hazbin Hotel. Velvet blinked. Wait, seriously? Charlie nodded. Yes, it's my redemption project. I believe even in hell people can change. The room went silent for several seconds. Valentino looked like he'd swallowed a nail. Carmilla raised one elegant brow. Rosie tilted her head, expression kind but clearly amused. Stolas seemed genuinely intrigued. Zestial broke the silence first. You're preaching redemption to overlords. I'm sharing hope, Charlie said earnestly. If we can prove to heaven that sinners can change, maybe they'll stop the exterminations. We could build something better. Helsa's tone was icy. Heaven will never listen. Charlie turned toward her. Then we'll make them see. Vox muttered. She's got guts, I'll give her that. Valentino leaned back, arms crossed. She's got something, all right. Rosie smiled softly. Hope can be charming if nothing else. Asmodeus folded his wings behind him. You really believe you can make heaven care? Charlie met his gaze without flinching. Yes. Payman spoke quietly, the weight of old authority behind his voice. That's admirable. Foolish, perhaps, but admirable. Stella sighed. Utter nonsense. Stolas's eyes glimmered faintly. Not entirely nonsense, dear. Even hell changes eventually. Charlie turned toward me suddenly. Lucifer, tell them it's possible. You've seen what a little order can do. I smiled slightly, setting my glass down. Possible, perhaps, likely. No, redemption isn't something most souls desire. They embrace what they are. That's why they're here. Her expression dimmed slightly. But if even one person changes, it matters. Then keep trying, I said. Just don't expect everyone to follow. Vox leaned forward, grin returning. So the mighty new Lucifer doesn't buy her fantasy either. Figures. Charlie looked at him sharply. At least I'm trying to fix something instead of making it worse. Valentino smirked. Ouch. Velvet whispered. She's brave, I like her. Carmilla tapped a finger on her glass. Enough talk of dreams. We came for facts. Who exactly are you, Lucifer? All eyes turned back to me. I poured myself another drink before answering. I'm exactly who I say I am, the original devil. The name you all borrowed, the idea you built your power on, I don't need to prove it. Zestial's voice was calm. Big claim. True one, I said. A faint tremor ran through the air, subtle but unmistakable. The bottles on the shelves clinked softly. No flames, no shouting, just pressure. Most of them felt it. Even Asmodeus's wings twitched once. Then I released it, and the bar fell silent again. Rosie let out a quiet chuckle, convincing enough for me. Vox said nothing this time. Charlie looked between all of us, her voice soft but firm. You see, if even you all can sit together in one room without fighting, maybe peace isn't impossible. Valentino laughed under his breath, only because no one's stupid enough to move with him watching. Still counts, she said. Rosie smiled. Your optimism is dangerous, dear, but refreshing. Carmilla nodded slightly. Perhaps she'll live long enough to make a dent. Charlie brightened. Thank you. Asmodeus finished his drink. Well, that was entertaining. Maybe I'll send a few of my employees to your hotel sometime. They could use redemption. Fizzaroli snorted. They'll drive her nuts. Charlie's smile didn't falter. I'd be happy to try. Payman stood, his presence still heavy but calm. I've heard enough. The city won't collapse as long as this bar remains neutral. Keep it that way. I intend to, I said. He nodded once and left, followed by Stella. Stolas lingered long enough to nod politely to Charlie. Your father would be proud of your conviction. That made her eyes brighten. Thank you, Stolas. Rosie and Carmilla followed next, both leaving with faint smiles. Velvet trailed after them, waving to me. Bye, hot stuff. Valentino stretched. Well, that was fun. Vox, you coming? Vox's static hissed faintly. Yeah, he glanced back at me once before turning toward the door. We'll be in touch. Alone again, the bar quieted. Charlie exhaled softly, clutching her folder. That went better than I expected. I smiled faintly. No one died. That's success in hell. She laughed softly. See, you can be optimistic. Don't push it, I said, but my tone was warm. Husk slid her a drink. You're lucky, kid. I've never seen that many big shots in one room without someone exploding. Charlie took the glass carefully. Maybe it means they're willing to listen. Or maybe they just wanted to see me, I said. She grinned. Either way, it helped. She started toward the door, then turned back. Thank you, Lucifer, for not scaring them off. I raised my glass in acknowledgement. Anytime, princess. When she was gone, Husk leaned on the counter. So, what do you think? Gonna tell her she's wasting her time? No, I said, swirling the liquid in my glass. She already knows. She just doesn't care. He grunted. She's crazy. Maybe, I said quietly, but hell could use a little crazy. The rest of the night passed in silence. The air still carried faint traces of all that power, but the bar remained untouched. For now, the balance held. Chapter 10. Night in the Lust Ring. Even in hell, there was a difference between loud and important. Most days, the noise outside Lux was just background. Gunshots, shouting, engines, badly tuned guitars. Easy to ignore. But that night, as I polished a glass with slow, lazy movements, I felt a different kind of attention pressing in. Not hostile, focused. Husk was at the far end of the bar, cigarette hanging from his mouth, tail flicking slowly as he wiped down a table. The jukebox hummed quietly in the corner, filling the room with low music. I set the glass aside and straightened my jacket. That feeling again, Husk muttered, not looking up. We getting more big shots. Not all of them, I said, just one. The door swung open before he could answer. Fizzaroli walked in first, compact and flexible as ever, rings on his tail chiming with every step. He looked around Lux with sharp curiosity, expression already amused. A moment later, the doorway filled with a much larger shape. Asmodeus. Tall, bright, and impossible to miss, he stepped into the bar with his usual confidence. His wings were folded close, his movements smooth. He carried the easy presence of someone used to being the center of attention. Now this is classy, Asmodeus said, looking around with an approving smile. You didn't tell me it was this nice, Fizz. Fizz grinned. Didn't want to spoil the surprise, Ozzy. Husk blinked, ears twitching. You've got to be kidding me. Him too. I came out from behind the bar, hands in my pockets, expression relaxed. Asmodeus, to what do I owe the pleasure? I didn't think the Lust Ring's king had time for casual drinks. Asmodeus's eyes focused on me, warmth and calculation mixing there. You handle a room full of overlords and keep them from killing each other. Word gets around. I got curious. Figured it was time I met the other Lucifer properly. Fizz hopped lightly onto a nearby stool, tail curling. Plus, I wanted to see the place. It's all anyone in the higher circles is talking about. That would explain the sudden rush of important company, I said calmly. Welcome to Lux. You can relax. I don't charge more for royalty. Asmodeus laughed, the sound bright and deep. Good. I hate paperwork and upcharges. Mind if I borrow you for a bit, Lucifer? I thought we might talk somewhere with fewer ears. Husk snorted. Don't worry about me. I'm not listening. You always listen, I said, amused. Yeah, he answered flatly, but I don't care. That made Fizz smirk. He's all right. I gestured toward the back. I have a private lounge. Quieter, less chance of Vox trying to spy through a hidden camera. Asmodeus's grin widened. See, you think ahead, I like that. I led them through a side door into a smaller room behind the bar. It held a low table, a few deep seats, a small bar in the corner, and softer lighting than the main area. Sound from outside was dulled to a simple murmur. Asmodeus sat carefully, even with his size, wings shifting to fit the space. Fizz settled casually beside him, leaning back with obvious comfort. I took the chair opposite them. I poured drinks without asking. Whiskey for me, something sweeter and stronger for Asmodeus, and a bright, fruit-heavy mix for Fizz. I slid the glasses across. Asmodeus lifted his, sniffed it, then smiled. Good taste, no cheap stuff. I'm a devil, not a fraud, I said lightly. He took a sip and nodded in approval. So, you've made quite an impression, Lucifer. Neutral bar, overlords respecting your space. Vox humiliated. That's not easy to pull off down here. Fizz tapped his glass idly with a claw. Yeah, Vox hasn't shut up about you. It's annoying. So, thanks for that, I guess. Happy to contribute, I said with a faint smile. He needed a reminder of his place. Asmodeus watched me carefully. I want to understand something. You show up out of nowhere, claim to be the original Lucifer, and you're not trying to rule anything. No power grabs, no territory war. You open a bar. I shrugged slightly. I like bars, I like music, I like controlled spaces. Crowns are tedious. Paperwork is worse. Fizz laughed. I like him. Asmodeus's gaze sharpened. You could probably wipe out any overlord in this city, maybe all of them at once. Yet you don't. Why? Because I'm not bored enough, I said. And because I don't need to prove myself to anyone here. I want peace around my bar, that's all. I don't care what the rest of hell does as long as it doesn't spill past my door. Fizz studied me for a moment, expression curious. That's it. You just want to run a bar. And drink, I added. Don't forget the drinking. Asmodeus smiled slowly, clearly liking the answer. You're simple in all the right ways. I respect that. He leaned back a little, letting his glass rest on his knee. I run things differently. I like being seen. I want the Lust Ring to know who's in charge. It keeps things in order. You run a ring built on desire, I replied. Visibility is part of the job. Exactly, he said. So when someone shows up who can tip the balance in any direction he wants, I prefer a face-to-face. No rumors, no second-hand nonsense. Then ask what you want to know, I said. I'll answer what I feel like. Fizz relaxed further, enjoying the show. Asmodeus chuckled. Good, so tell me, what's your stance on the rings? You plan to wander, expand, hit my territory? No, I said plainly. Your ring is yours. I have no interest in the lust ring beyond visiting when invited. My domain is this street, this bar, and whatever comes through my door. Fizz raised an eyebrow. You didn't hesitate at all. Because I'm not lying, I said evenly. Asmodeus studied my face, then nodded slowly. You're not, that's rare. I took a calm sip of my drink. Do you doubt everyone that much? In hell, he said. Yes, everyone lies, especially overlords. I'm not an overlord, I corrected. I'm above that, I just don't bother to act like it. Fizz whistled, confident her. I have reason to be, I said. There was a short pause. Asmodeus seemed to weigh something, then his tone shifted, still casual but with a hint of sincerity. You handled that overlord meeting well, he said. Charlie appreciated it, she told me. I lifted an eyebrow. You talk to her often. Enough, he answered. She's trying to do something that doesn't involve endless killing. That's rare down here. I like rare. Fizz grinned, and she's cute. She is, Asmodeus agreed easily. Too good for this place. Her optimism annoys the others, but I don't mind it. She's persistent, I said. Her redemption idea will cost her a lot, but she won't stop. He smiled slightly at that, kind of like a certain owl I know. Stolers. I knew he meant stolers without needing to ask. Fizz tapped his glass. So you've seen the hotel up close, right? What do you think? Honest answer. Honest, I said. It's an impossible project. This hell wasn't built for redemption, neither was mine, but Charlie is stubborn enough to drag something out of it anyway. Fizz blinked. You really think she might do it? Not on a grand scale, I said, but on a small one, yes, one soul at a time maybe. Asmodeus hummed. You sound more practical than most gods I've met. I am more practical than most gods you've met, I said. Fizz snorted a laugh again. He's not wrong. Asmodeus drained half his glass in one smooth motion. I wanted to meet you for another reason, too. One that's not just about politics. Go on, I said. He leaned forward slightly. I run the most famous club in the Lust Ring. You run the bar that's quickly becoming the most talked about neutral ground in the Pride Ring. I like synergy. It keeps the machine moving. I'm wondering if we should treat each other like parallel establishments, not rivals. A mutual recognition agreement, I said. Exactly, he replied. I don't interfere with Lux. You don't interfere with Aussie S. If trouble targets one of us from outside, we give each other a heads up. Not an alliance, just respect between businesses. Fizz nodded. Benefits everyone. No one likes cleaning up after idiots who think they can blow up bars or clubs. Husk would have agreed with that. I thought about it for a moment, more from habit than uncertainty. It was reasonable, and Asmodeus wasn't someone who made sloppy offers. That works for me, I said. Lux remains neutral. Aussie's remains yours. No V's taking cheap shots at either without consequences. Asmodeus's grin returned, wider this time. Good. I already like you better than most of the overlords. Fizz smirked. Most of them are fragile anyway. True, Asmodeus said. I finished my drink and set the glass down. In that case, consider us professionally cordial. Asmodeus lifted his own glass. To professionally cordial devils, then. I clinked my glass against his. To fewer headaches. Fizz smiled, knocking his glass against both of ours. And to better drinks. We drank in comfortable silence for a moment. The tension was gone now. What remained was simple understanding. Asmodeus set his glass aside. I should get back soon. The club doesn't run itself. Fizz. Fizz hopped off the seat. Yeah, I'm coming. Try not to miss me too much, pretty boy, he said with a grin in my direction. I smirked. I'll manage somehow. Asmodeus stood carefully, stretching to his full height. There was no arrogance in the way he moved now, just steady confidence. If you ever want a night away from this bar, you're welcome at Aussie S. Ask for me. I'll make sure you get a proper seat. I'll keep that in mind, I said. He looked around the private lounge once more. You did good work here. Different style from mine, but it fits you. I know, I said, and I meant it. Fizz waved with 2 fingers as they headed for the door. Try not to break the city while we're gone. No promises, I answered. They left the room, then the bar, the faint echo of Asmodeus's laugh lingering for a few seconds. The pressure of his presence faded with distance. I stepped back into the main bar. Husk was leaning on the counter, ears tilted back. Well, he asked, we at war with the lust ring now, or what? No, I said. Quite the opposite. We're on decent terms. Husk blinked once. That it? That's enough, I replied, returning behind the bar. He grunted, clearly satisfied. Good. I don't feel like dealing with whatever mess that bird could cause. I poured myself another drink, the amber liquid catching the light. The city outside continued its usual chaos. Inside Lux, everything stayed steady. It was small, but it was mine. And now, even the king of the lust ring had agreed not to disturb it. That I'd call progress. Chapter 11, Trumpets over Lux. The first sound was the horn. It cut through the usual city noise with a sharp, clear tone that did not belong to this place. No gunshots, no screaming, no cheap music. Just a clean, piercing blast from somewhere high above. I was behind the bar, halfway through a sip of whiskey. Husk's head snapped up from where he was slumped over the counter, his ears flicked, tail going stiff. Oh, hell, he muttered. Already. I finished my sip, set the glass down, and let my eyes slide toward the front windows. The red of the sky was changing. It brightened, not to blue, but to a harsh white, as if someone had torn open a curtain and let raw daylight bleed through. Lines of light began to fall from above in long, straight pillars. I knew what it was before Husk pushed his glass away. The extermination, I said quietly. He grunted, you sure? Another horn blast answered for me. This time it came with movement. Tiny white figures were falling with those beams of light, wings stretched, weapons gleaming. Yes, I said, I'm sure. The first exorcist landed in the street outside with a heavy thud. The light around it dimmed, leaving a pale figure with a mask, white armor, and a long weapon that looked designed for one thing only: killing. Then more landed, dozens, scores. The sky filled with them, each beam delivering another. Demons scattered almost instantly. Sinners ran in all directions, shouting, pushing, trying to get away from the open streets. Some were too slow. The first swing of a blade split one in half right outside Lux's window. Husk flinched and looked away. Every year, he muttered. Same shit. I stepped around the bar and walked to the door, drink in hand. I pushed it open and leaned against the frame, watching the street. The white shapes moved with cold precision. Exorcists cut down demons without hesitation. No warnings, no speeches, just clean, efficient killing. Wings unfurled, blades swung. Sinners screamed and vanished in bursts of white energy. I took another slow sip. It was not the first time I had seen heaven's weapons in motion. Different world, different uniforms, same attitude. Righteous, unbothered, sure of their orders. And then I felt them. 2 stronger presences among the swarm. Not on the level of a true archangel from my own universe, but strong enough to stand above the others here. I lifted my gaze. They arrived more dramatically than the rest. 2 beams, thicker, brighter, punched down out of the sky and struck a nearby rooftop. When the light cleared, they stood at the edge of the building, looking down at their work. Adam and Lute. Adam was tall, broad-shouldered, with wild hair, and a ridiculous amount of confidence poured into his stance. He carried his sword like a prop, clearly enjoying himself. I recognized the smug grin even from a distance. Shirt open, posture wide, full of himself. Lute stood beside him, smaller but sharper. Calm eyes, neat hair, wings folded close, a proper uniform. Her expression was serious. voice crisp even from across the street as she shouted orders to the exorcists below. "Move forward, clear the block," she called. They obeyed instantly, cutting a path through the screaming crowd. I watched quietly, swirling the liquid in my glass. The street in front of Lux turned into an execution yard. Demons tried to duck behind cars, alleyway doors, broken pillars. It did not matter. The angels hunted them down in organized lines, slicing through anyone they found. "Should you do something?" Husk asked, voice low. I glanced back at him. "About heaven killing the damned?" I asked lightly. That would be a strange line for me to draw, even by my standards. He grimaced, looking away. "Just thought this might piss you off." "It does," I admitted. "They're sloppy." I stepped just outside the door and let my gaze sweep upward. Adam stretched, arms over his head, laughing down at the chaos. "Look at them run," he shouted excitedly. "Pathetic little freaks." "Focus, Adam," Lute said firmly. "We have quotas to maintain." Yeah, I hear you," he replied, rolling his shoulders. "Relax a little, Lute. This is the fun part." I couldn't help a small, dry smile. "He has not improved across universes," I said under my breath. A demon sprinted down the street toward Lux, eyes wide, clothes torn. An exorcist raised its weapon to strike him down in the middle of the road. I sighed and stepped forward once. With a flick of my wrist, I shifted reality in a clean, small line. The pavement right in front of the exorcist rose half a meter in an instant, like a hidden step. The angel tripped, blade swinging wide and missing the fleeing demon entirely. The sinner dove behind a nearby crushed car and scrambled out of sight. The exorcist looked around, confused. I took a sip. Husk stared at me from the doorway. "Thought you didn't care." "I care about my street being messy," I said calmly. "And I don't like incompetence." Above, Adam's eyes swept lazily across the block. For a moment, his gaze paused on me. I lifted my glass in an idle greeting. Even at this distance, I saw his eyes narrow slightly. "Hey," he called. "Lute, you see that guy?" Lute followed his line of sight, focusing on me. Her expression tightened, not with anger, but with recognition that something was out of place. Odd aura, strong, not a sinner. Adam grinned. "Finally, something interesting." They jumped down from the roof, landing hard enough to crack the pavement a short distance from Lux. Demons nearby tried to scatter, but were cut off by exorcists forming a loose ring. I stayed where I was, one hand in my pocket, the other holding the glass. Adam sauntered closer, smirk never leaving his face. Well, what do we have here? You look different, buddy. Little too clean for this dump." "Thank you," I said smoothly. "I try." He looked me over, eyes moving from my shoes to my eyes with open interest. "Not scared either. That's new. You know what day it is?" "Yes," I said. "Your annual ego parade." Lute's wings twitched lightly. "Adam." He snorted. "What? It is." He pointed his sword at me in a loose, casual gesture. "So, what's your deal, Overlord? Some kind of big-shot freak? Because you're not giving me the usual demon vibes." I smiled faintly. "Let's say I'm local management." Lute stepped closer, her gaze narrowing. "Heaven does not recognize any management here except us." "Yes, I noticed," I said, watching an exorcist cut down another fleeing sinner to the side. "You are very thorough, sloppy but thorough." Adam's smirk turned sharper. "You talk big for someone drinking through an extermination. You gonna get in our way, pretty boy." I tilted my head. "Not today, I'm just watching." He seemed almost disappointed. "That's it, no big speech, no dramatic last stand." "I prefer comfort," I said. "Last stands are overrated." He laughed loudly. "You're weird, I kinda like you." Lute ignored his